What's up, Van Dam fam? I hope everyone is awesome. And that's the bottom line, which implies that there's other lines. And you know what? There are lines everywhere if you look for them. Lines to categorize us, lines to separate us, lines that we draw ourselves, lines that are predetermined. There's a lot of lines everywhere. And that's what I want to talk about. I bet you like to draw the line for yourself sometimes, right? Being in charge of that. How about, let's just say you're in Las Vegas and you're gambling, right? You draw the line on how much money you're going to spend, right? You get to say, you know what? That's it. I'm going to quit right there, just like I said I would. And, but, you know, they tell you how much you're going to be able to bet. I mean, they draw the line on certain things, but you're okay with it. You know, they draw some lines, you draw some lines. How about eating? How about you're at a, by the way, I don't gamble. I don't know. I'm just thinking of that. But how about you're at a buffet eating in Las Vegas after gambling? Don't you like being in charge of when you've had enough? Eat until you feel like you've gotten your money's worth, or you've got enough food, you're ready to go. For example, I mean, you get to draw your own line on you, right? I mean, it's better than the alternative, which would be being cut off. Someone to cut you off, that's never cool. Cut you off from drinking too much or talking too much. Maybe it's an intervention. Those aren't cool, right? But these lines to guide us everywhere, and we tend to get used to it so much that I think a lot of people just sleep right through the whole ride like a bowling ball that has the bumpers on each side to keep it going, and they just count on it. I like to think for myself about a lot of lines that maybe already set, maybe they're not set yet. What's annoying is when people don't realize that their lines are separate and personal to them, and they just assume everyone has the exact same lines, you know? You ever hear this guy? Well, I don't smoke marijuana personally, but you know, I really don't think we should be putting people in jail if they smoke pot, you know. If they want to have a couple of puffs before they go to bed at night, well, they definitely said a lot about where they draw the line and how they feel, right? I mean, what about wake and bake? What about someone that is a user all day? That's on the other side of the line. People express their self perspectives, and that's what we call basic thinkers. We talked about that before. Um, Everyone's lines are different. Here's an imaginary conversation with somebody. All right, man, I'm gonna be. I want to be rich. Well, what do you consider rich? I mean, like, you know, rich, like having $1 million, $1 million in equity, or liquid. You know, having $1 million in the bank. Okay, but what if your monthly bills are 200 grand and you have $1 million in the bank right now, because you're late like by a month. No, I'm just look. Where are you gonna live? There's so many different perspectives that term does not equate to the same value everywhere. You know, another way that lines are drawn for us already that I think about. By the way, if you're on this road out in the middle of the desert and you can see for a mile each way and you come to a four-way stop, do you stop all the way? And if you do, why? Because that's what you're supposed to do? Is that something that's just like inside of you that says this is the right thing to do, according to who? The law or God? Or just being a good person by your standards? Just just a question. By the way, police are used to just ordering people around because people have always been intimidated by them. So for no reason at all, they approach people and say, hey, I need you to stand over there. And now people know that's crossing a line. You know where the line is? Did I break a law, officer? Do you suspect me of committing a crime? If not, you have no authority over me, fool. You can't tell me to go stand so. Is everybody okay? That probably sounds better now, huh? I'm not starting over again. You can't tell me what to do any more than I can tell you what to do, unless I've broken a law or something, in which case then you have authority over me. You know where a line is drawn um, with drugs? That, first off, the fact that people, when they're talking about cannabis, they talk about drugs. That's not even where I draw the line. I put the line on the other side. When people talk about drugs, I assume they're talking about heroin or cocaine or meth, fentanyl, not herbs. So already, we differentiate our perspective right there. If you're gonna say no, cannabis is a drug, and you're doing drugs. I mean, if you want to get technical, I'm not gonna argue with you as long as you also agree that caffeine from your Coke or your coffee is also a drug. Sugar also, and sugar's very dangerous, by the way. Way more dangerous than THC. Anyway, we all draw our lines a little bit different there, and that's fine. Let me ask you this, though. Where do you draw the line on addiction? Where's the line between being addicted and just really enjoying something and not wanting to quit? And I'm not saying that addiction isn't a thing. It is. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain when you become dependent on something and you can't just kick the crutch out and not fall over because it's part of your balance. I get that, but I believe that a lot of people that are accepting addiction really are just wanting to be able to victimize their position and not admit that they just like whatever they're doing. I was in that boat. In ECW, 96, 97, I was eating a lot of somas. A lot. I mean, even some pain pills, some Valium if they came my way. These were the pill days between going to All Japan, where everybody ate pills starting on the flight before the flight over there, and in ECW, and ate a lot of somas. And Louis was the guy that ate more somas than anybody. Louis Spicoli. He really ate a lot. He was addicted to them. He couldn't quit if he wanted to. Well, I really didn't know they were that dangerous. When Louis died, I remember thinking, oh my God, what have I done? I got myself hooked on drugs. Like, I learned about this stuff in school and phys ed class. What did I do? I'm going to have to go to rehab or something? Like, I want to change my life. I don't want to die. What the fuck? And I remember calling my dad. And I remember actually telling him, like, I got myself hooked on on drugs. I've been taking them pretty much every day, for at least a few months. And my dad said, are you addicted? I said, well, I don't know. I mean, Didn't you just hear me? I've been taking them. So he said, I mean, if you don't want to take them, have you tried just stopping? I tried it. It worked. The word addicted, is overused. Everyone uses it for anything they like. Oh my God, I am so addicted to that TV show, which is okay. That's part of our culture. That's totally like another episode, really. Just wanted to use that as an example. Here's where they draw the line with some of the drugs. Okay, Advil or Motrin, same thing. It's same thing as ibuprofen by that name, and they're all 200 milligram pills of ibuprofen. If you look at the instructions, it tells me to take 2 of these for a headache, which of course is 400 milligrams. Well, why don't they just make one that's 400 milligrams instead of me taking 2 of these? They do. It's now a controlled substance. Whoo. Now, if you weren't doing drugs when you took 2 Advil, you definitely are doing drugs now that you're doing 1 400 milligram Advil. So that's where they draw the line. Is that worth thinking about? I think so. Honestly. Because I don't need everybody to draw every line for me, to tell me which way to go, what to do. I'm not a formula guy. I've said that a lot of times. It's also a line from Headstrong on Amazon Prime. But it's true. I'm not a formula guy. In fact, I feel like lines constrict me. They fence me in to try to make me more understandable for other people by comparing me to what other people already know. I'm not like other people that you already know that you can compare to me in this manner. I'm not. So I tweeted a few months ago and got some good response. I remember John Henning, Johnny Impact, Johnny G.I. Joe, Johnny WWE, Johnny Survivor, Jomo, Johnny Morrison. I remember he responded and said, "Genius." And my tweet was, I'm the kind of guy that would never say I'm the kind of guy because I don't like being labeled. It's true. So that makes it harder to answer questions for me when someone asks something specific. Are you one of these? Or I think about Michael Hayes when I got to WWE. They don't get you, but I get you. You're a surfer dude, right? No, I'm actually not. I'm actually not a surfer dude. And I'm actually someone that doesn't like to conform just so other people can understand me. I'm a platypus. If you don't get the reference, look it up. Because the platy here doesn't really fit into any other category. And they try to blame him. Like, what, you're a mammal, but you're not. Mammals don't lay eggs, and you got venomous claws and a beak, and what the hell's wrong with you? You breathe oxygen. But anyway, I love the platypus. I've always identified with the platypus. And, a lot of lines are personal lines that we draw for ourselves. We've heard this guy, right? Hey, that's it. You hit a woman, that's where I draw the line. You never hit a woman. I don't care what it's for. Well, you know how RVD feels about absolutes. If you watch that episode, if a woman is stabbing you with a knife, say once every 5 seconds, very deeply, I recommend in between one of those stabs, you get a punch in or whatever is available. That's not me. I don't lay those lines down. In fact, my own lines that work for me are probably not going to fit most other people, even wrestlers, if you know what I mean. I think about 1991. I had just finished up with USWA in Tennessee, which was my first territory to wrestle somewhere 4 times a week or so, maybe 5. And they were on a loop. It was great. USWA. Everybody from my generation and older started there towards the beginning of their career. Well, after we finished up there, after like 5 weeks, just want to point out, I finished up there because they said, we don't really have anything more for you. And that was me, Sabu, Judge Dredd, Dango, the 5 of us. Chris Candido was there, but he left before us, got there before us. We met him there. He wasn't really part of our group. The reason I paused is I was just thinking, that's kind of amazing because that was like the first real territory, and they ran out of stuff for us, which they always did. They bring people in for like a 5 or 6 week loop and run them through this machine, the process, and that's what they did. But what's interesting is I don't know that ever happened again until my last run with Impact, and that's what happened. Every time I would leave Impact, Katie and I'd be kind of surprised if they'd want to book me again. I'd be like, I don't know if they got their money's worth out of me. I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't seem like they're capitalizing that much. I don't know. And then when Scott Morris say, all right, we'll see you in October, I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, all right, I guess we're coming back one more time. And that's how it worked. And then eventually they're like, we really don't have anything else for you. All right, no problem. The first time and the last time. In between now, I do a lot of lines in the sand. I had standards even when I was super young and green, a prima donna. Maybe I should have been more flexible, but I can't say I regret the lines that I drew. After USWA finished us, I really loved being on the road, and I couldn't wait. What's next? Sheik sent us down there because he was friends with Jerry Lawler. What else you got? Boom, I'm ready to go. Well, I met this guy, Ron Slinker, who becomes a big part of my next several years. Ron Slinker is a promoter. He's in USWA. Actually, he worked a shot or two with Bill Dundee. And he's a wrestler, and at the same time, he was Tex Slashinger's father-in-law, stepdad. Sorry, and Tex Slashinger was also Dennis Knight. Good dude, really funny dude. But Ron Slinker really took a liking to me when he saw me there, 20-year-old RVD, and he said, "You're going to be a world champion someday, kid. I can see it in you." He gave me his number. He said, I'm going to be running shows in Florida, blah, blah, blah. I kept up with him after USWA was done. Like, dude, well, what's up? Is Florida ready? Is it ready? I got to go. Come on, man. I'm wasting energy sitting at home. He said, my friend Manny Fernandez has this promotion going on in Charlotte, North Carolina. Fast forward to me driving all the way down to Charlotte, North Carolina at 20 years old. My car is like, it has an illegal sticker on the license plate, and the thing was just like held together with coat hangers. My Mustang, I had wrecked it a lot of times. I don't even know if I had insurance for it, but I had $100 in my pocket, drove all the way down through the night, so I was really stressed out, got a flat tire, really, really stressed out, and finally got to Charlotte, got to a hotel, and slept for a little bit. And then I had to meet these guys at the Armory. And in my mind, I was thinking I just left Louisville Gardens from USWA. Big arena, 2,000 people or more in the stands. I thought, this is so cool. I love the wrestling business. Now I'm going to go to North Carolina and I'm going to see, their fans. And when I got to the Armory, there was only 2 rows of chairs around the ring, flat on the floor. Small building. I was so depressed. Nobody was there yet, but my heart fell to my feet. I was told I'm going to be working with Ricky Nelson. Ricky Nelson introduces himself to me, says we're going to be wrestling tonight, and he says, I know you like to do all those flips and kicks, right? And I said, yeah, man, I'm I jump really high, and I'm a kickboxer, so I have a lot of spin kicks, and I do the splits, I do all these. He said, yeah, you know what? You know what would really make it mean a lot? Save it for the end. I was like, what? Yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you do it the whole match. Save it to the end. Just do like one kick at the end, bam, and then it means something. Then it's a real kick. Bro, me being so young, Ricky was already established. I felt like he had the veteran leverage on me, and I was just so sinking. Like, oh my God, I just wanted to go all the way back to Battle Creek, get in my car and drive all the way back up. By the way, he's one of 2 people that told me that. In 93 in WCW, Rip Rogers said the exact same thing. I don't know if Rip Rogers and who were we just talking about? I can't think of his name. Anyway, I see him, but I haven't, really seen him a lot since then. But anyway, they're from the same school. Don't know if they know each other or not. Ricky Nelson, sorry, Ricky. But they were from the same mentality, and I was like, well, you know what? I was there for 2 short weeks. They had booked several shows, 3 or 4 a week, just like a regular territory, but they were all new. They were all gambles. They didn't know what was going to happen. One of the shows, the ring didn't even show up. They wrestled on a blue plastic tarp. I didn't. I ended up staying with a few of the wrestlers. They said they had a guy move out. They asked me to move in with Tommy Angel and what was Jeff's? Jeff Husker. Anyway, I was very, very young and inexperienced. I remember one time the guys were leaving the house and they wanted to make a point that I wasn't doing anything to keep up my stay. Not cleaning up, nothing. And Gino, who's Jeff Husker, said, hey, Rob, you mind getting the dishes? And I was like, huh? Oh, how do I do it? I didn't even know how to run a dishwasher. I didn't. At that stage in my life, I never cooked, had never done my laundry. I grew up slower than a lot of people that hit the road. Anyway, it wasn't at all like USW. It was very small. Sometimes there was nobody there, or the show would get canceled. It's only $50 at the most that I was getting paid. And then I'm finding these responsibilities. Then they want me to show up and work out and wrestle, which at the same time, I told you I was a prima donna. But Sheik and Sabu were like, you've already been trained. Tell me you're just there to work. Well, it was more Sabu than Sheik. That's why I didn't do Sheik's voice, I guess. And I was feeling pretty down about it. And then they had a show and I wasn't even booked on it. So I'm like, look, I'm the only guy from out of town that drove in. All these other guys live around here, around the Carolinas or whatever. And now you're going to have shows and I'm not even on them. And you know what I did? At 20 years old in 1991, I drew my line in the sand. I said, that's it. And I just left. And I drove back home. And then I bothered the hell out of Ron Slinker to open up Florida wrestling. I'm sure that the company shut down right after. Never heard of them doing anything. I mean, they got until they got taken over by other people, and eventually got TV, and then called me back up with Greg Price, South Atlantic Pro Wrestling. You can find some of those matches, but at that time, the shows that they were booking, the buildings they were booking, weren't working. I'm sure I didn't leave anything behind. That was 91. In 93, I was feeling down kind of the same way, kind of like underappreciated, not underused. And I was in WCW at this time. And you know what? I didn't want to stay. I didn't want to resign. I didn't even want to sign. I had my contract that they had originally given me, and I never gave it back because I didn't want to sign it because I felt like this was going to be a mistake. After 5 months, I said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. And Chris Benoit had me like pretty much up against the wall, the way I remember it, scolding me, really, talking to me like a wrestler talks to an undergraduate wrestler, or not undergraduate, someone that's beneath them, younger. He was like, "You're fucking leaving? What are you going to do, work indies? I think you're fucking stupid. You know that? You know how many people would love to have your job? You know how many wrestlers out there would break a leg to be on TV? You're on TV. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go?" Well, I was making $100 for television, $150 for non-TV. That's what I was getting paid. Outside of WCW, even at that time, I was getting $300 a match. So even just leaving and working indies, I was already going to be able to do half the work for the same amount of money. But I left and was running shows with Greg Price, who used to book me to run South Atlantic Wrestling. Now he and I would book all these buildings and promote them. And now I'm getting 25% of sponsorship money. Town's paying for all these sponsorships to get advertisement and pay for kids. And I'm getting the money from to wrestle. I'm getting money for selling my merchandise. If there's any profit at the end of the day, I'm getting money from that too on a split of the net for the show. I should have stayed for $100 a night. No, I didn't regret leaving. That was it. That was the line for me where I just had enough, and I made the decision to leave. It wouldn't be a popular decision, but I left. I left South Atlantic in 91. I left WCW in 93. I left WWE in 97. I left ECW in 2001. I quit on my own accord all these times. I quit again from WWE in 2007 on my own, against the wishes of everybody else. I might have quit at the end of my 2015 run too. I remember telling Triple H, let's forget about these last shots that are in California that I was going to hit at the end of my run here. Let's forget about those. Just ended now because I was hot. But I don't know if I did the California shows or not the next couple of weeks. I might have. But when you look at it, I never really noticed all those times that I walked out on my own accord because it was my decision. And to think about the career that I had with all of that in mind. Am I a quitter? Or have I always just known when to draw the line, when it's time for me to go? Well, like I said, I have no regrets. I never feel like I'm out of options or trapped. You might say I'm out of line, but whose line is it anyway?